CIA, KGB, and MI6, and many other people who had critical, not correct interpretation of whatever is happening in Iran. They want to clean it, they want to correct it, and they understand that they did. Their father did very big mistake.
What's going on in Iran? How does it affect the world? How does it affect Israel? What's happening on the streets? What's happening with its relations with Russia, with China, and with the United States? And is there any type of movement that is taking place where people are connecting on a people level rather than a governmental level? We're going to find all of this out today on the show. Our guest is Dr. Daniel Dana, who was born in Teheran in 1945 into a Shiite Muslim family. In 1973, he was the National University Gymnastic Champion of Iran and represented Iran at the 1972 Student Olympics in Moscow. After graduating from the Teheran University Law School with a Bachelor of Law degree, he studied at Paris University from 1978 until 1984. He received there an MA and a PhD in comparative constitutional law. In Paris, he was the first Iranian to resist Khamenei among the Paris students. For organizing young students to fight the Islamic Republic, he was sentenced to death 3 times in absentia. Today, he lives in Israel as a Jew, and I'll let him fill in that part of the story during the interview. And in 1990, he founded the PLIM, or the Peace and Love International Movement, for promoting peace between Iran and Israel. And for the past few years, he's traveled extensively in Europe and elsewhere to spread the word of love of Israel among Iranian exiles and of the various faiths. So I want to welcome you to the show, Dr. Daniel Dana. So let me start with this.
And thank you so much for
Okay, maybe you can just fill in first. You know, we want to know who you are, and that establishes your knowledge of what's happening with Iran and the rest of the world and the relationship between the people versus the government, etc. But we understand that you were born into a Muslim Shiite family, and today you're a Jew living in Israel. How did all that happen?
100% correct. First of all, thank you so much for your invitation. This is my great honor to be with your audience and share whatever has happened to me, either in my private life, ideological life, social life, historical life, educational life, and the area of research, whatever I have done, as rich as possible on my understanding. Thanks a lot for this opportunity that I can share with you. Yes, I was born in a Shiite family, and I believe that my mother, my grandmother, and all my mother's side, they have been a Jewish community, which they were unfortunately spread out in 1839 pogrom of Mashhad. Therefore, we are people of Anusay Mashhad, that miracle of God show me, and the blood sickness, thalassemia, anemia in 13th April 2000 here in Israel, that Professor Edelson mentioned that this is very special sort of thalassemia, anemia, which mainly we are witnessing with Middle Eastern Jews. In that period of time, I was living in Israel as researcher for my postdoctorate degree of Hobart University, Tasmania, which I came here in 94 for 8 weeks research. And for many reasons that I have translated Salman Rushdie's Satanic Verses into Persian when I was in Australia for 5 years. And it was a very respectful kick out of Australia. I came here and I couldn't return to my refuge. Because why I call it miracle? Because 6 years later, thalassemia, anemia showed me that, well, my background is Jewish, and well, I'm proud to claim as a Jew, which I was born in a Muslim family, and I've studied all my life in Iran, beginning in life, law school, after in university, and then, as you mentioned, this is very fluctuated background till today.
Okay, so very briefly, you were living in Iran, then you went to go live in Paris, and then you went back to Iran for a few years. They didn't kill you. They used you as a symbol of their tolerance, perhaps? Yes or no? The Islamic regime there in Iran?
Well, this is a yes. I claim that I have been the first Iranian when Ayatollah Khomeini in 1978, 3 months and a half before Islamic Revolution, he came from Iraq and Kuwait to Paris. In that period of time, I was master's degree student of law in Paris University. I was the first Iranian who claimed against him.
Right.
And in front of many students, I claim that he's destroying our nation. He's a bad man. In fact, well, the history showed that he's son of Satan, in fact, whatever
But
he
you were
has done.
still a Muslim at that time.
Yes, 100% clear. I accept it. But longer story, which is out of our frame today to explain you why. Probably in the other opportunity, I will share with your audience my background regarding of Islamic, how well I understand.
All right.
That, well,
so let me just do this very quickly for our listeners then. So basically you went back to Iran. Yes, they didn't kill you. And then you went to Australia. In Australia, I understand you converted to Christianity. And then you came to Israel for some conference, if I'm not mistaken. And while you were here, or some program, you were accepted to the university here, Hebrew University, for a short-term program. And while you were here, the Australian embassy took away your rights to return to Australia. And so you didn't have a home. And you were stuck in Israel. And while being here, you came down with this disease that you found out from your doctor is usually only a disease that, or it's a common disease of of Middle Eastern Jews. And you found out during that time as well, you were in the midst of converting for 3 years, I understand. You found out that your mother, on your mother's side of the family, back, as you were saying before, had Jewish roots. And so indeed you were technically Jewish as well. Is all that correct so far?
100% right. Okay. The pogrom they were suffering a pogrom 1839. We call it Anusay Mashhad. They left Mashhad to Tajikistan, and then to Uzbekistan, to Bukhara, to Tashkent, to Baku, and they returned home in 1927. In that period of time, their family name was Abayev. Mm-hmm. But the government in Iran do not permit them to continue the same family, and they call them Donande, because my grandfather was translator of Russian in Iranian embassy in Baku. People call them wise man, and this is the reason why they call them Donande, means wise man. This is my family name that I changed. It was something else, and I choose the family name of my grandfather from my mother, Donna.
Okay, so and today you are living in. So I just want to say that so your family was forcefully converted to Islam. It was against their will. Again. All right. Okay. So now you're living here in Israel as a Jew. You're married to a Russian Jewish woman who's an Israeli right now as well. And you have become very involved. And actually you started the peace and love movement with the people of Iran, as opposed to the government, which is anything but peace and love. And so let's start out with what is happening on the streets today in Iran. We understand that the people have come out yet again against the government. They're trying to overthrow it, to bring more freedom, to give women more rights. And people see that it was a huge mistake to have made the revolution against the Shah back in 1978, I believe it was, in the first place, 78, 79 in the first place. And the people are uprising again with the first revolution, which was maybe a decade ago. The United States of America did not help did not help the people of Iran overthrow this Islamic regime that hated the United States, that wanted to see the destruction of the big Satan. And, first the Saturday people and then the Sunday people, which is the Christians. And that's the United States, also the West. They're enemies of the West. And yet they did not help the people overthrow the government, which doesn't make sense, or at least not to maybe to tacitly help them. But this didn't happen. Today, we're seeing an uprising again in the streets. Again, I do not see any backing by the United States or any Western countries, really. So tell us what's happening on the streets between the people in the streets and the government of Iran.
Yeah, I can squeeze the question and answer. 95% of total population in Iran means 85 million Iranian population who are living in largest prison of the history today in Iran. 95% of them, this is not precise statistically, but however, in general, I claim that 95% of them understood that they made a big mistake in 1979, which call it Islamic Revolution. They want to clean whatever their fathers has done 44 years ago. They want to clean the mistake, the very, very big mistake and miscalculation of Jimmy Carter, Ramsey Clark, Richard Cotton, Andrew Young, Gary Sick, William Sullivan, Michel Piccoli, Jean-Paul Sartre, Anne-Marie Schimmel, CIA, KGB, and MI6, and many other people who had critical, not correct interpretation of whatever is happening in Iran. They want to clean it, they want to correct it, and they understand that their father did very big mistake. And the other point is that what was the population of Iran in 1979? It was less than 34 million. How much is today? Over 85, including 8 to 10 million in exile. They understand that all people who will participate in this ugly Islamic communist revolution 44 years ago, it was less than 135 of, as percentage, less than 1 million were participating for that revolution. But 34 million were silent, and they are paying the price of this silency. Today, they want to say the word that our father made mistake with this revolution. We want to clean, we want to correct this very big mistake of our father. We want to make a democratic ideology in Iran, a democratic concept in Iran, and we want to lead peace, harmony, and goodness with not only Israel as our twin sister nations, but also with the other civilized government, civilized people in the world, to implement the concept of democracy in our country. This is the idea of 95% of total population today in Iran. This is minimum that I can answer your question.
Okay, I just want to insert here that before the Islamic regime took over and the Shah was in power, there were friendly relations between Israel and Iran. There was not the hostility that there is today. There was no calls for destroying Israel. There were friendly relations between our countries. So that's important to mention. All right. So the people now are fighting. Do you think that the people have a chance to win? I mean, they did this about 10 years ago, plus minus, and they were not successful.
Listen, during last 13 weeks, which has started a new movement in Iran, which is ruling by Iranian women majority and new young generation, they are 100% decided to change the system. It is, in fact, will be a real revolution in future in Iran, based on desire of twin sister nations, Iran and Israel, which based on 27 centuries common relationship and always respectful and, well, nice relationship between Iranian and Judaism in general. Iran was the first Muslim country in 1950, and the leadership of Shah accepted the in de facto, of course, system, political de facto, the Israel, and we had wonderful relationship, economic, well, educational, military and security system, good relationship between Israel, and we wish to continue the same relationship. This is why many Iranians are looking for peace between two nations of Iran and Israel. Completely, they changed the idea, whatever or propaganda during 43 years of Islamic revolution against Israel. It is completely wrong. They want to clean this wrong policy in Iran.
Yeah, I understand that. My question is, do you think that the people who are demonstrating and protesting against the government today, do you believe that they're going to be able to succeed this time in overthrowing the government?
Uh, I am 100% sure that they will be successful. Why? Because they are defending of the honor, of a reality, of a principality, of national dignity, of peace, love, compassion, and mercy of God on earth. They are defending of their own human being dignity. Just yesterday, a young girl in Hamadan, the city in the center of city, opened herself and said, okay, come and arrest me. I am not demonstrated. I am hungry. Just yesterday, they killed a young man, Mohsen Shekari, just 3 days ago, and they killed yesterday just a young man in the city of Mashhad. They execute him because they were looking for their own human being right. They are right. They are looking for human rights. Dr. Homa Darayi, another woman, killed herself because of whatever they are doing. In fact, whatever they are doing, it is repetition of Buchenwald, Dachau, Auschwitz, Birkenau, whatever has happened there. It is repeating during the last 43 years in Iran, and they want to stop it. Why they will be successful, and why I am personally, as an Iranian, 100% optimistic that people will be successful, will destroy the system, because their attitude, their mentality, and their burning desire to freedom of option, freedom of choice, freedom of liberty, it is completely irrelevant for whatever has happened before. Iran will be the first democratic country after Israel in the Middle East, and they will change the atmosphere of politics in Iran. This is more than clear.
Yet news reports are coming out now that women are being shot by the police forces there in their face and in their genitals, and this has caused a huge shock across the Iranian people that they're doing this. Perhaps it would be something that are going to make people afraid to go out into the streets and protest.
I'm very optimistic that those people who are brave enough to shout against the system, they are in the streets. They claim that we are not waiting US or Israel or European community to the market and defend us. We have to change the system ourselves. This is our country, and we are motivated either die or freedom. This is whatever final decision of this high majority of people, and they understand that 44 years, whatever has happened to us, is repetition of Islamic invasion. Islamic invasion 14 centuries ago. It is repeated by Mongols, Genghis Khan. It is repeated by Tatar or whom or he whatsoever. We want to stop this sort of savagism. We want to live in peace and harmony with our all neighbors. Probably they wish Saudi Arabia or Kuwait or the other Middle Eastern countries, they wish to remain in Islam, but we are not Muslim. We are Iranian. We are nationalists, and we need more democracy than any sort of ideology.
Okay, let me ask
This
you one.
is the
Yeah, I'm
majority
sorry.
of Iranian how they think.
Let me ask you one more question before we close this topic, and that is that back in 1979, when there was a revolution, they had Khomeini waiting in the wings in Paris. And I'm asking, is there a shadow government now? I mean, if they do succeed in overthrowing the Islamic regime in Iran today, is there a shadow government? Is there somebody, some leader, some movement to take over there that's prepared and ready and waiting?
Well, it is not really claimed that 85 million million Iranian, they are leaders, but however, automatically and practically they have their own leaders inside themselves. They cannot introduce any leader because this is dangerous to introduce somebody as leader and immediately shoot by regime. Therefore, they are wise enough, they are really, really, really wise enough to hide their leaders, their local leaders. The leader of leaders on proper way will come to the market, will come to the scene to introduce himself or herself. But this is more than clear that the leadership, the practical leadership of this movement is by hand of Iranian women, and exceptionally the men are protecting them. And this is not the question to have one leader, many leaders, many local leaders, leader of leaders, God's willing, in future will be come to the scene of market.
Okay, let me ask you about Iran's relationship today with Russia and China. There's a big split in the world between the United States, which is supporting the Ukraine, and then Russia's in a war there, and Russia's looking for allies, and China, Iran, a lot of places looking for allies and to make new groups now in the world. Where do you see Iran with Russian and Chinese relations?
In the beginning of this bloody Islamic revolution, or red communist Islamic revolution, they were claiming no Westerner, no Easterner. We are in the middle our way. What is the meaning of that? It means only Islamic. Because, excuse me, later on, as much as they took power, they kicked out the communists or socialists or whatever they were in the link of Russia or the other red ideology. Bit by bit, the Islamic government comes to Russian power and China's power, despite that they were calling United States as a great Satan, Israel as a small Satan. This is the fabrication, ideological fabrication, this group of unwise people. Because of that, leftists, they were supporting them. But bit by bit, because they wanted to monopolize the power in their hand, I mean, Shiite leaders, they also kick out all red ideology, the communists. Today, during this period of time, 43 years, they come closer to China and Russia. And bit by bit, the foreign policy of China understand that they cannot, this regime, which is going to be collapsed, and they are not strong enough with a critical reputation and total isolation. The foreign policy of China, based on this policy, bit by bit, to be far from the idea, despite that they had the discussion or negotiation of 25 years agreement for Persian Gulf for some special benefit. They stop it. Therefore, China, regarding of the recent meeting that they had with Saudi Arabia, this is an implementation, a beginning of being far from foreign policy of Iran. Russia and Vladimir Putin, regarding Al-Pahbad and the other military instrument that the Islamic Republic gave to Ukraine against Ukraine to Russia, this is two isolated power, Vladimir Putin and the Islamic Republic. They cannot do really whatever could be useful for both nations in future. They have no any future. They are both.
Okay, I think I've lost you again. Perhaps it's your internet connection. And let's try to get Dr. Dana back. Okay, you're back. You hear me?
Yes, I'm sorry for this technical problem that sometimes pity.
Yeah, it's probably just an internet connection. All right. So I didn't quite understand what you were saying. So you're saying that Iran and China are warming up again now together?
No,
No.
completely. They are going far from each other. China stopped it because of relationship with Saudi Arabia just last week. Saudi Arabia had a large conflict with system in Iran. Joining China to Saudi Arabia is the other system of kicking out of Iran of the bargain. And we can understand that China is going to be far from Islamic Republic. Only Russia, only Vladimir Putin joined to Iran, and both of them are isolated economically, socially, internationally. They are both outside of frame of competition.
So are you saying that Iran is not warming relations with China or with Russia?
With China, for a moment, they are continuing, but not really warm enough with China. China themselves are going far from Iran.
So so would you say it's not anything to look at? It's not anything to worry about or to be concerned about?
Many experts, they are 100% pessimistic of relationship with Iran and China because coming close of China to Saudi Arabia, which is 100% competitor of Iran in the area.
Okay, well, that's interesting. What can you tell us about Iran's quest for nuclear weapons and its threats against destroying the state of Israel?
This is a propaganda which started in 1960, around about 1965, 6, with Khomeini himself, 15 years roundabout before Islamic Revolution. It has been started to be against state of Israel via leadership of Shia ideology in Iran around about 15 years before Islamic Revolution. It was continuing till 1979, the Islamic Revolution in Iran, and continued the same strategy.
So I just want to insert here that 1964 and 65 is when the PLO, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, yes, came into being, and who that was made by, we won't go into right now. But so you're saying around the same time there was this resistance in amongst the Muslims in Iran as well. So go ahead.
Yes, they were cooperating together against Israel by leadership of Khomeini in Iraq, because for 15 years he was in exile in Iraq and he was cooperating with all terrorists, either Arafat or before and after that with anti-Israeli activists. They have been continued by Islamic Republic, even worse, and they have written on their missiles against Israel any slogan, and they continue the same ugly strategy, which is completely against Iranian culture, Iranian peaceful mentality, and Iranian long relationship with Israel, and well, so productive ideology during 1950 till 79. It has been destructed with terrorist regime in Iran. As much as they do propaganda against Israel, young generation in Iran, they became more excited, more interested to know more about Israel, Israeli foreign policy, Israeli industry, Israeli agriculture, Israeli medical center, or Israeli research program. As much as the regime did propaganda against Israel, high majority of Iranian, mainly young generation, they become excited to know more about Israel, to be more faithful to Israel, and wish that in future, close future, twin sister nations of Iran and Israel change the ugly face of terror and terrorism in the area.
So you're saying that the Islamic regime's propaganda war in Iran against Israel has actually backfired on them, and that the younger generation wanting to know more about who their supposed enemy is has done research and has found out all of these good things about Israel and the Jewish people, and they're wanting they're pushing back against that and wanting to have peaceful relations with Israel. That's what you're saying?
Exactly. I can tell you another example how during 35 TV programs that I managed via Zoom for Iranian scholars in Europe, in US, out of Israel. And each program was between 4 to 5 hours, and many people, they were participating from different levels, mainly leaders of opposition. I teach them what is the term of Zion and what is the ideology of Zionism, and how this ideology is comparative, 100% comparative with Iranian nationalism, and why friendship between Iran and Israel could be beneficial for both nations, and why peace, harmony, compassion, and reality of God, of real God, even theologically, can be followed with friendship between twin sister nations, Iran and Israel. And also, I have done 28 other programs, the same topic in Idea TV, the official TV of Iranian government of exile. I've continued the same idea, why Zion and Zionism could be best practical official supporter for Iranian nationalism, for changing the system in Iran. Israel is the only country among United Nations, 200 countries among United Nations, who defending of our right, despite that Israel is defending of its own security. But this security defense of Israel against terrorist system in Iran is parallel with our burning desire for freedom of choice and freedom of option in Iran and democracy in Iran. Therefore, practically during 43 years of Islamic revolution, Iranian opposition and Israeli foreign policy regarding of Iran in the area is 100% parallel. We have to put hand in hand together to support this idea.
Are you saying that the younger generation in Iran is looking towards Israel because they think that if they have good relations with Israel and there's cooperation, that they'll in turn be able to enjoy the fruits of freedom, democracy, etc., that Israel offers?
Yes. This is not only Israel supporting during 43 years of Iranian nationalism, of Iranian democracy, not only that, but this based on 27 centuries common relationship that we have. King Cyrus, 45 Isaiah, is father of both nations. King Cyrus is the same respectful for Judaism as for Iranian nationalism. As I mentioned, that twin sister nations of Iran and Israel had 2,700 years of common relationship. High majority of Iranians believe that we have to continue this relationship because both of them are children of King Cyrus. The reference is 45 Isaiah. King Cyrus gives freedom to Jews, King Cyrus gives honor to Iranian. Therefore, it is better to continue the same strategy instead of terror and terrorism and the ugly system in Iran. As much as the regime during 43 years, 44 years, 43 years, they do propaganda against Israel, love of Israel, respect to Israel, more bowling in the heart of young generation. 95% of total population in Iran are the burning desire to Israel as a symbol of democracy, as a symbol of science, medicine, agriculture, technology, and many other principles, which is unique in the world. Just small group of 9 million people, around 200 million enemies, faithfully, strongly stay. It is a symbol for Iranian nationalism to have relationship with this alive, strong, faithful nationalist nation. This is whatever I told you during 35 programs that I broadcast for Iranian, mainly opposition leaders, and many Iranian community of 300,000 Iranian who are living in Israel, they were participating in this program. They understand what is the value of Zion and Zionism, which is completely equal of Iranian nationalism. And also I continued the same program in 28 program with Idea TV, the only TV of Iranian government in exile. I continued the same discuss why we have to understand what is Zion and Zionism, which is parallel, equal of Iranian nationalism. What is disturbing us, both nations, this idiot, ugly, satanic ideology of Shiism. Honestly, high percentage of Iranians are against Shiite ideology, which is completely irrelevant to new generation, which is disturbing people, which is against democratic mentality, which is against the democracy, and which is against our normal relationship between Iran and Israel and also Western countries. We want to live normal. We want to have good, respectful, fruitful relationship with all nations in the world. What is disturbing us? Shia ideology, which is introducing 44 years with Islamic Republic, with Islamic Revolution, which is completely irrelevant to Iranian culture. We want to clean it. We want to kick out this strange ideology, which is completely irrelevant to Iranian culture. This is the point which I have to put the finger on, express it.
You're very, very passionate about this, and I'm just wondering, do you feel more Iranian rather than Israeli Jewish? I know that you've been Iranian all your life. You've only been living as a Jew in Israel for a short time, and you're talking about we want as like the Iranians. So I'm just wondering, how do you place yourself in this, and how do you think that your group of peace and love between the Iranian people and Israel is going to win the Islamic regime? And then we can end it there if you like.
I can say that during 28 years living in Israel as a researcher and as an Iranian lawyer, I have done many things regarding of Zion and Zionism for future of twin sister nations. I have written and edited the memory of Zichronol Vivrecha Meir Ezri, the first ambassador of Iran in 1950 and later on. This is 2 volumes that I have written. The first ambassador of Iran, of Israel in Iran, those books. And I have written another book, the biography of the father of Meir Ezri, Sion Ezri, which was the head of movement of Khalutz in Iran. And also I have edited the book, The Memory of Mr. Abu Rostamian, who is the head of Iranian community. And I have also edited the book, The Memory of Neimat Filin Menashri, who has been candidate of the first Iranian lady for Ofakim. I have been chief editor for Persian, for the only Persian paper in Israel, which was published with Meir Ezri. In Israel, I have done so much. This is the reason why my fidelity to Israel and my compassion and my love and my respect to Israel is not less than my respect, the same to Iranian nationalism. Therefore, 2 eyes I have, 2 nations I have, Iran and Israel. It is not separable, and I am very convinced that future today is pregnant of a nice future based on friendship and complete, total cooperation between twin sister nations of Iran and Israel. And I try my best to introduce this idea for many Iranian scholars. During this period of time, I have written Ravan Paregi, why a Shiite guy could be psychologically not honest man and not clean man. Psychologically, a Shiite guy is Ravan Parish, means
you're talking about a Shiite
psychopathic.
Muslim.
I have written 2
I'm sorry,
volumes.
wait, I just want to make this clear. You're talking about
Shiite Muslim. I mean.
Okay.
I have written 2 volumes of that case. Yes, Shiite Muslim, Shiite Islam created with Iranian 14 centuries ago, 5 centuries ago, refortifying, 44 years ago, they did revolution. I have written 2 volumes of that Kishi. I say why, historically, theologically, and socially, a Shiite guy is not Iranian friend, despite he was born in Iran. He is completely worse than any enemy.
How does your family feel about you being a Jew in Israel, living a life as a Jew in Israel, coming from a Shiite family?
Let me finish this story. With my great honor, I will explain it to you. I have written Khorshid Taban. Why? The sun will give heat and goodness of God for both nations in close future based on relationship of Iran and Israel. I have written big, over 1,000 pages, 2 volumes of Zendani, which is also based on common relationship of twin sister nations, and many other. I have written a large book. This is the archive of peace and love during many years. Why Iran and Israel, they have put in hand together to clean the concept of terror and terrorism in the area, and how we can really find a new life system. I have edited also he is the head of Iranian Zoroastrianism in London. I have edited this book, which is really based on the same story and many others. And also, I can give you another example.
You've been busy.
Yes, Behdini, which is based on respect to Baha'ism. And I say why ideology of Baha'ism is could be respectful for any Iranian, and all of them is probably 3 times death execution. And this is the story of Abayev that I mentioned, that while our family in 1927, when they came from Russia, their family was Abayev, and later on,
this is your autobiography. This book is your autobiography.
Yes, which has been translated in Russian, in German, in French, and in English whatsoever.
Okay.
So much working for one point. Tell my nation, Iran and Israel are exceptionally in the eyes of God. They have to put hand in hand together to make a better future, not for only 2 nations, but also people of Middle East and also the world. The world will change if, capital I, Iran and nation can reconcile forever. And this social condition, day by day, is being closer and closer to be implemented and to be in practice.
How many people are in the peace and love movement?
Well, practically, we have 250 activists, around about 250 activists, either in Israel or out of Israel. And supporters are, well, I have no idea, probably tens of thousands, but 250 plus, they are activists which are
Okay, you're back. All right, so let's end this very quickly. So just finish that sentence. I'm going to ask you one more thing, and then I'll say goodbye, okay? Before we get cut off.
Thank you so much indeed.
So continue what you were saying.
Yes, many Iranian, either in Europe, US, Iran, or elsewhere, they are 100% convinced that future of Iran and Israel, the cooperation between these 2 nations, deep reconciliation between these 2 nations will change the ugly face of terror and terrorism in the Middle East, and a large group of people, they are working for these projects.
All right. Okay. We have to remember also that Iran is sponsoring people like the Hezbollah, or groups like the Hezbollah, helping Hamas with rockets and missiles, etc. So very quickly, out of this 250 active members of the Peace and Love for Iran and Israel, how many would you say are Jewish, and how many would you say are Iranian out of the 250 active workers?
Honestly, well, with 300,000 Iranians who are here in Israel. 2 nights ago, I was in Rishon LeZion, and I was talking to people, and a large group of people, they were there, and my topic was how and why Iran and Israel's love, compassion, and good relationship can change the ugly face of Middle East, and why we have to work for that. Why peace and love is an instrument in the hand of civilized nations of Israel and Iran, making a better future for the Middle East.
Right. I'm just asking, though, if you had to divide up how many of these 250 active members of the peace and love between Iran and Israel, how many of them are Jews and how many of them are Iranian in the movement?
I mentioned that 300,000 Iranian Jews in Israel, they are 100% supportive, and many Iranian Jewish community in the United States are supportive. Many in Europe and many in Iran are supportive of the idea because we are looking for their benefit, bilateral benefit, not only one part.
Right,
benefit.
but would you say that in Iran, I'm asking, inside Iran today, how many are active members in your group, in this group?
This is not easy. Yes, this is not easy to answer, precise answer because of security, but
would
there
you
are
say
many.
half and half, a third, approximately? I'm just interested what the scale is. That's all.
This is not easy. Honestly, I do not want to take them in some problem whatsoever, but I can introduce you practically to come to Sin and talk to you if you are interested and introduce to people to Israel. I can invite.
My point is if it's almost all Israelis or Jews that are in this movement and just a few Iranians, I just want to see the effective. I want to understand the effectiveness or the power that this movement really has. That's all I'm asking you. How many are there? A lot of Iranians themselves who are not Jewish involved in the peace and love with Israel?
Okay, among these 250, I can say that 250 activists, I can say that, well, around about 30, 35 are Jews. The rest are either Christian or Zoroastrian or non-believer or
really. So only around 30, 35 people out of the 250 are Jews, and all the rest are
no more.
Interesting.
Activists. We are talking about activists. We are
talking about activists. Okay.
Activists, Iranian Jew, either in Israel or out of Israel, around about 35 or 250, and no more.
Okay. Well, actually, that's a positive.
More than that.
That's a positive sign. That's a positive sign.
Amen.
Because usually it's the opposite, where the Jews want peace and the Muslims or whoever don't.
No.
Okay.
Peace and love movement, as I told you, 250 activists, around about 35 Jew, and the rest are either Muslim, or as myself, ex-Muslim, either Christian or whatever, Zoroastrian or non-believers, any religion, or atheists whatsoever.
Okay. So before we get cut off again, I want to give you the opportunity for anyone who's interested in more, for you to give out your website to the Peace and Love group, or whatever website you'd like to give out to our listeners, please.
Should be my great honor. Anytime which is convenient for you and your audience, you can, well, declare, and I will invite a group of people come to see in the Zoom and sit and, well, negotiate and talk, interview with all of them. Why not?
Okay, no, I'm saying can you give out your website for people who want to learn more? I'm giving you the opportunity to give out your website.
No, for some reason we do not have any website because of security, because the security of our people, either in the world or in Israel, or especially in Iran. In Iran, we have a lot of people.
Do you have a Facebook page or anything?
Just face and face.
So if people want to be in touch with you, do you have contact info, something?
For sure. Me personally, you have my telephone number, you have my email address, you can give to whoever is interested. Personally, I take the responsibility, I take the risk of such a thing. But the other people, I'm so sorry. No organization identification, and no
so
website.
I should give out your email address?
Personally, you can give to whoever has any questions. Should be my great honor to answer with my great pleasure.
Would you like me to publish it with this interview?
And man, please do that.
Your Yahoo.
And man, do that.
Your personal Yahoo email address. You want me to put out your personal Yahoo email address?
Do that.
Okay.
I am faithful soldier of my idea. I am a Zionist in Israel. I am a nationalist for my nation. I am humble servant of twin sister nations of Iran and Israel.
All right. Well, we'll end it there. I want to thank you very much, Dr. Daniel Donna, for being with us. And I do hope and pray, as many other people do, that there will be peace between Iran and Israel, and Iran and the rest of the world, and that everybody inside Iran should be able to enjoy freedom and safety and security, and that they shouldn't be going after any atomic weapons to kill people, to bring the Mahdi, whatever their ideology is. It should just be a good, peaceful world that we all live in, we can all enjoy in, and all realize that we're all brothers and sisters, all creations and children of God, our Creator. And I want to thank you very much for coming on the show and talking to us. Thank you.
Amen. Thank you so much for your praying. Well, I appreciate your time. I appreciate future cooperation and introducing real idea, peace and love between sister nations of Iran and Israel. It is not just wish. This is not just an idea. For me personally and many others, it is tangible. We can feel it. We can see. We can watch it. We can enjoy it right now. It is 100% implementable in close future, God's willing. Thank you so much for your time.
Peace out, as they say. Thank you.
Amen.
Hey everyone, to make sure you can get access to all of our interviews, make sure to hit the subscribe button on both our YouTube and Rumble channels. Your click makes us all stronger. Thanks.